Shortly after that, I received my orders, and we said goodbye. And that would have been that. Except that a child was conceived. You heard about the letter that she wrote me, and I wrote her back saying that I would do whatever I could to help. But I never heard from her again or saw her until the night that Bradley Ward died. I swear. I feel as if there's something that you want me to say that I'm not saying.
I was thinking of the forces which gave Bradley Ward life. Compassion, creativity, courage. No wonder he was such a remarkable man.
And I never had the opportunity to acknowledge him to his face. I had no idea until Mary May came to me with that letter. And the next day, he was dead. And I never knew him. And he never knew me. Except as an adversary. And I should have told you this 20 years ago.
You told me now.
Mrs. Ward and Justus Ward.
Is that tea?
Do you take lemon or milk and sugar?
I take it plain, thank you. Justus?
No, thank you.
Maybe Justus would like something stronger.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reginald. That'll be all. Mrs. Ward, I'd like to tell you how very much I admire the courage it must have taken to stand up in that courtroom and acknowledge Edward as your son's father.
I'm sorry it had to come out the way it did. I know that is not what your husband wanted, but I sensed that things were going badly for him. I felt the truth would serve him.
I hope it will serve us all.
If I'd come forward with the truth 20 years ago, if I had just had more faith in the enduring quality of Bradley's work, the man that murdered my son would not have walked free all these years.
Doing business with me and claiming friendship?
It's time to put our mistakes behind us.
That's exactly what Schultz was trying to convince the jury that I did 20 years ago by murdering my own son.
Edward, Mrs. Ward will think you're ungrateful.
Not at all. You couldn't know that the district attorney would twist your words. Well, surely the jury won't believe that I'm such a monster.
If you were, I'd know.
And that's what Mr. Stannis told them. We are very grateful to you, Mrs. Ward.
Yes. Yes, of course.
I hope you won't think this is presumptuous, but I wish I'd known your son, Bradley.
No, I don't think it's presumptuous, and I wish he'd known you as more than an adversary.
Oh, damn it, yes, all those months of bitter confrontations over the airport. If I had known...
You would still have been on opposite sides.
Perhaps.
No, it would have been different. I know that now. You would have seen to it, just as you saw to it that the investigation was terminated, as I asked. Just as you've made a difference at the Bradley Ward house these years, those very generous, anonymous donations every Christmas. Now I've grown to count on them. They were from you, weren't they?
Yes.
Well, we have put them to very good use.
I may not have had the privilege of knowing your father, but I'm looking forward to getting to know Edward's grandson.
Well, obviously we still have a lot to learn about one another, Miss Quartermain.
Well, to begin with, I prefer to be called Lila, if you don't mind. Well, I think it's time to ask the rest of the family to join us, if that's agreeable.
Yes, it is.
Will you excuse me?
happened, your grandmother was in the hospital. And then again at the nurse's ball.
Yes, of course.
As I recall, it was quite an evening.
Yes, I spent most of it in the closet. It's a long story. I'm Monica's husband. I'm Alan.
You were against the incinerator.
Yes, I was. Of course, you know my son, Jason?
She sure does.
And this is his brother, AJ.
Swore Justice.
I see the family resemblance.
Well, we have Dad to blame for that.
Actually, they're half-brothers, but Jason has been mine since he was an infant.
This family is used to complications, believe me.
Oh, are we a complication?
And you're Ned Ashton?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his wife would be with them, but she doesn't speak to him too much. A little matter of bigamy. Nothing too
AJ,
serious.
that's enough.
So, Lee talked the reporter out of pressing charges, huh?
Yes, he did. It didn't stop a whole pack of them from following me down at the police station. I guarantee you there will be a picture in the newspaper tomorrow. Some of them are out by the gate now. And I would think they're probably camped out at your doorstep as well.
They are.
Oh, don't give them the time of day. Now, this will all be old news by the time the next scandal comes along.
Unless, of course, you're convicted.
Well, thanks to your grandmother, that's less likely to happen.
I don't know. Prosecution made a very strong argument that the sudden discovery of my father's paternity was motive to kill him.
That's absurd for you to say something like that. Grandfather didn't do it.
Please. Justice has every right to state his opinions in this house. Quiet, all of you.
Justice, you think I killed your father?
I think there are some unanswered questions.
Ask them.
Well, for 20 years, you chose not to acknowledge my father. No, make that 50 years. In the letter you wrote my grandmother, you said that you would help. Now, that's a far cry from accepting your son as your own flesh and blood.
In all fairness, Justice, I didn't ask that of him.
And why not?
Because it was better that way.
For whom?
What's your point?
My point is, if my grandmother hadn't made a statement in open court, would you have ever acknowledged that you had a black son?
The color of your father's skin had nothing to do with my decision, then or now.
Is that so?
I was a young man engaged to be married, and yes, it would have created a scandal, and yes, I probably had a selfish motive for wanting to keep it quiet, but not along racial lines.
Well, you had a lot of other reasons to keep it quiet. Legitimate children, thriving business, reputation as a pillar in the community. Sudden appearance of a black son could have been, a black son who was a political activist, could have made things very, very uncomfortable.
Yes.
Justice, we didn't come here for a confrontation.
That's all right. Better to get things out in the open.
I would like to point out that your father was alive when my father supposedly made the call to Jack Boland to resolve all these things.
A call that I didn't make.
And what if that call was to say he directed someone else to resolve things for him?
Oh, for heaven's sakes, Edward did not kill your father.
Jack Boland did. That woman said so. She saw the gun and everything.
And who told her to say that? How much was she paid? These are all questions that the jury is going to be asking themselves in the deliberation room.
I don't see what more I can say to convince you. I hope the jury isn't as hard on me as my own grandson.
Justice, you are clearly a Quartermain. Butting heads is part of our genetic makeup.
Well, that doesn't mean that we can't all learn to do better.
Amen to that.
I don't suppose I ever expected this to be easy.
That's good.
He's going to give Father a bigger headache than I do.
Phyllis? I think we should be going.
Oh, but you'll come again?
Well, maybe we should let the dust settle a bit. I'm sure Edward will be acquitted, but there are other issues.
Such as the incinerator.
Oh, Ned, don't let's go into that now. It's been a very trying day.
All the more reason to end things on a conciliatory note. Justice, you've waged a passionate and effective campaign against the ELQ incinerator. And your arguments have not fallen on deaf ears. So after due consideration, our board has decided to relocate the incinerator across the river in a non-residential area. you've won.
Well, if that's true, the community of Charles Street has won. It was never personal.
If you say so.
And I'm sure you'll find some way to make it benefit ELQ, otherwise you wouldn't have done it.
You are a hard nut to crack.
Well, I don't intend to crack.
Yes, I can see that. You're a true quartermain. Welcome to the family, cousin.